Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a literal clash of the titans from one of the most iconic sporting venues in the entire world, Wembley Stadium in London. Let me tell you, this was not just your average friendly match. This was an absolute showcase of tactical discipline, immense physical pressure, and just off-the-charts hype. We're going to dive deep into how these two soccer powerhouses faced off, the intense strategic chess match played out on the touchline, and the razor-thin margins that completely defined this historic game.
Just think about the sheer gravity of this matchup for a second. We've got the United States women's national team, ranked world number 1, fresh off being crowned Olympic champions, and directly opposing them, England, ranked world number 2 and the reigning European champions. You literally cannot ask for a bigger stage or a higher stakes matchup in women's soccer right now. We're talking about the absolute best in the world going head-to-head under the legendary Wembley Arch. But beyond the rankings and the titles, there was this incredible emotional undercurrent to the whole game. This was a massive homecoming for U.S. head coach Emma Hayes, returning to London, literally to her own backyard, to manage the away team. As she shared before the game, she actually sat with her dad watching the Olympic final at Wembley back in 2012, and now, some 12 years later, she's walking out of that tunnel as the head coach of the United States. She even joked that she'd be humming along to the U.S. anthem in what was, admittedly, a super surreal situation for her. It just set this perfect emotional stage before a single ball was even kicked. And to put the sheer scale of this game into perspective, picture this. Over 78,000 roaring fans packing the stands. 78,346 to be exact. While it was just shy of the full 80,000 mark, let me tell you the atmosphere was completely electric. When you have two elite teams playing in front of a sea of fans like that, it magnifies everything. Every single pass, every crunching tackle, and every tactical shift we're about to dissect felt absolutely huge. All right, moving into Section 1, USA applies early forward pressure. Right from the opening whistle, the U.S. was absolutely suffocating. They made this super concerted effort to assert dominance immediately, hitting England with some really high physical pressure. Right at the start, we see that veteran presence shining through, with Alyssa Naeher stepping up for her 114th cap. But notice what happens just 5 minutes in. Alyssa Thompson, who, fun fact, actually made her debut at Wembley in 2022 when she was just 17, gets an opening shot off with a ton of time to take a look, forcing a really solid save. Throughout that entire first half, every single time England tried to build out from the back, the U.S. backline was right there in their faces. This forced England's goalkeeper, Mary Earps, to be incredibly sharp. She had to pull off 2 massive reaction saves early on just to keep the U.S. off the board. You really saw that swagger and confidence early on, too. Take Sam Coffey, for example. Instead of playing it safe and passing it out wide, she finds herself right on the edge of the D and basically decides, you know what? I'm going to take this myself. She fires a heavy strike straight at Earps. Now, she couldn't quite crank enough on it to get it past the keeper, but it was one of those crucial moments that forced Mary Earps to make a clean, holding save right through traffic. It really highlighted just how aggressive and front foot the American squad was playing. Which brings us to Section 2, the disallowed offside goal. This was the moment that had Emma Hayes literally jumping on the edge of the touchline, the most critical attacking sequence for the U.S. in the entire match. Let's break down exactly how it happened. It all kicks off with this brilliant first touch by Yasmin Ryan. She drives central and just completely tears the game open. She clears a gorgeous ball perfectly into the path of Rose Lavelle, who, crucially, is clearly onside. And then the cross comes in for the finish by Captain Lindsay Horan. The U.S. had 4 players crashing the front line, and nobody picked up Horan's late run. She buries it in the back of the net, but then, heartbreak. The flag goes up, offside. It was this perfectly designed attacking sequence, heavily relying on Ryan's vision and Lavelle's positioning, but it gets wiped out by the slimmest of margins. All right, so shifting into the second half was Section 3, England counters and penalty drama. So as we head into the second half, the whole vibe of the game flips. The United States still held some early possession, but they quickly realized something. If you don't finish your dinner against a team like England, they are going to punish you on the counterattack. Right around the hour mark, the U.S. was forced into straight-up frantic defending. England started pushing really, really hard. Lucy Bronze, playing from that right-back position, was often the furthest player forward for England, whipping these incredibly dangerous crosses toward the back post. That forced Naomi Girma and the U.S. defense into some highly pressured, desperate clearances just to keep it 0-0. We also saw Alessia Russo constantly trying to pounce on these near-post runs. She got caught offside a few times, sure, but she kept the American defenders constantly looking over their shoulders. Then comes the heart-stopping moment. The tension just explodes over $1 million question. Was it a handball or just a natural silhouette? Yasmin Ryan gets a shot off inside the box and it rockets into England defender Alex Greenwood. Instantly, the Finnish referee points to the spot. Penalty for the United States. But Greenwood is immediately up in arms, adamant, showing the referee that her hands were strictly by her sides. She's arguing her arms were totally within her natural silhouette as she blocked the ball. You could feel the air just get sucked out of the stadium. We go to a super tense VAR review. After taking a really long look at the replay, the referee makes the call. No penalty. The decision gets overturned. And actually, it was definitely the right call. Greenwood's hands were coming across her body completely naturally. But wow, you could literally feel the massive collective sigh of relief from the England squad and this home fans. With the penalties scrapped, the match turned into an absolute grind of one-on-one battles. Take the matchup on the wing, for example. You had Beth Mead, the relentless England attacker, throwing everything she had at trying to generate offense down the flank. And matching up against her was Emily Fox, the U.S. defender whose entire job was to shut her down. We watched the specific dogfight all evening. Mead was constantly trying to play the ball across to find Russo on the back post, but Fox just matched her stride for stride every single time. It was this fascinating, high-speed chess match on the wing, just elite one-on-one defending going up against top-tier attacking pressure.
As the clock's ticking down, both coaches are playing their final tactical cards. England brings in Chloe Kelly to an absolutely deafening roar from the crowd. Everyone remembers her scoring the game-winning goal right there at Wembley to clinch the 2022 European Championship. But the U.S. answers with pressure of their own. Jaden Shaw makes this hard, aggressive cutting run to the front post, desperately looking for a connection. But Yasmin Ryan's crucial final pass, it just couldn't quite find her. And honestly, that was the story so often for the United States on this night. They managed to get numbers in the box, but that very last piece of the puzzle, that crucial final pass in the attacking third, was just slightly off.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 4, a historic tactical stalemate. As the referee checks her watch and lets play run through a few final, heavy challenges, it became super clear we were witnessing something totally unique. This wasn't some boring lack of goals, right? This was an absolute masterclass in coaching. The final whistle finally blows, and we're looking at a 0-0 scoreline. That marks the first ever 0-0 draw in history between the United States and England women's teams. It's an incredibly fascinating stat, especially when you consider it was only the second time the U.S. failed to score since Emma Hayes took over the squad. The defensive organization on both sides was just absolutely impenetrable when it mattered most. There's a great quote that kind of hits the nail on the head here, perfectly summing up the whole narrative of the evening. It only seems fitting those two as friends would battle it out with all the tactical decisions and changes and adjustments and walk away with a tie. Emma Hayes and England manager Serena Wiegman aren't just two of the best tactical masterminds in the game today. They have an immense amount of mutual respect, and they're genuinely great friends off the pitch. They threw everything at each other. Tactical tweaks, late subs, massive defensive shifts, and in the end, they essentially just canceled each other out completely. So as we wrap up this explainer, I've got to ask you to think about this. With the first 0-0 draw in their history officially in the books, what tactical adjustments are Hayes and Wiegman gonna make the next time these Titans clash? Because when two mastermind coaches know each other's playbooks this well, you just know the next chess match is guaranteed to be even more fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this monumental fixture, and definitely keep your eyes on how these incredible tactical setups evolve moving forward.